Good morning. Welcome to Win the Day. This is our time together every week, Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'm going to be live. And if you guys have questions or just want to tune in and be inspired, motivated to keep moving in your business, this is the place to show up. I am Tanika D'Souza, the 100K Challenge Chick. I empower women entrepreneurs to break the 100K income ceiling in their business. So, we're talking about a thing that's super big to women running businesses, right? And it doesn't mean that, guys, you are exempt from this, because a lot of the things that I'm going to bring up is concerning motherhood, and you're also a parent. So it applies. But I'm talking specifically to mom, because when my kids were younger, they would actually right past their dad to say, "Where's mom?" And you just kind of never felt like being a mom, you could turn it off or just, be present when you wanted to or get other things done. Like, everybody in your house felt like your time belonged to them. Hold on, I just realized I did not mute my phone and it rings all the time. Okay, so that's what we're addressing. How can you be a really awesome mom and CEO, right? So we're going to talk about that. And there's just two points that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, and they apply to both areas of your life. And so if you are running a business, running your house, you're married, you have kids, whatever your story is, I want you to understand that it really does require you to go back to the basics and to understand what you're doing all of these things for, and to embrace that, right? So, the two things that I'm going to bring up today are super simple concepts, but the reason that I have to bring them up is because we don't do them. We think that we are superwoman and we could just show up and be all things to everyone. And what happens is, what we neglect is ourself. What we neglect is like our self-care. We neglect our businesses when our families need us. We neglect our families when our business needs us. And there's no good balance for that. And so today, that's what we're going to be talking about. How can you show up strong in two important areas of your life? And so today I'm addressing motherhood and being a CEO. And for some of you, maybe you didn't take on the title of CEO, and that's fine. I'm really talking to those of us who are running businesses, starting businesses, branching out into entrepreneurship, and still have to manage the house. So, what are those two things that we're going to address? And if you have guesses, I would love to hear them. You could drop them in the chat. And even if you have other things outside of the two that I'm going to present, I'll be happy to hear it, because for anybody watching this as a replay, I want this to be like a really great conversation that we're having. So I'm going to present 2 points. If you guys have other things that you want to add, absolutely drop it in the chat. So, what are these magical two things that you're talking about? Like, can she really be serious? Like, two things are going to solve my problems. Two things are going to absolutely allow you to, uh, excuse me, show up strong. They're going to allow you to be present, understand what you're there for, and to be more efficient and effective. So that's what I'm going for. So the first is to be present, right? A lot of us, I mean, that's a super simple concept, right? Be present. But what I mean by that is, when you're home and when you're wearing your mommy hat or your wife hat, or for a lot of us now, our parents are getting older. So when you have to be the daughter caring for your parents, I want you to be present wherever you are. So when you're home, be present with your kids. Don't sit there with your cell phone checking every 5 minutes what's going on with the phone, what's going on with work, checking emails. show up and be with them and give them your attention while you're in their presence. So be present when you're home. And the same is true when you're at work, when you're working on your business, when you have stuff to do, be present for that. That was a really tough place for me because I never wanted to feel like I started my business and now I'm neglecting my kids. But if I was very present with them when it was time for me to spend time with them, then it's not hard for you to ask, hey, I'm about to shoot some videos. I have a conference call. I have clients. So I'm going to be in my room until this time and I need to, work. They can respect that because they understand that when you're done with that work, whether you have to leave the house to do it or whether you're home and you're in your own space, when you ask them for that time, they can respect it because they appreciate when you are with them and you don't allow distractions to interrupt their time. So be present with whatever you do. And you can take that into so many other facets of your life. Like we half do so many things. If you would just focus in and be present in whatever you're doing. So if you're at church, pay attention, read the scriptures, write the notes. Don't do 10 other things while you're there. If you're with your kids, if you're with your spouse, like be with your spouse, to have a date and just be the two of you. Don't use that as time where it's just the two of you to talk about all the other things. That's like a house meeting, right? But if you're saying you're spending time with your spouse, be present with your spouse. So I think a lot of it is us not having a boundary and understanding that when I say I'm doing something, that I'm going to show up fully and do that particular thing. So if this is time that I fully put on my mommy hat, then I am mom. I'm not answering work emails, and I'm not going to feel bad about that because when I'm done, I can go there and give that my full attention versus half hearing my kid, not answering the email properly, and just doing everything mediocre. So the first point of the two is to be present. Whatever you're doing currently, be present, fully present, and commit to that activity. And those people, those children, your husband will respect when you say, hey, I have to show up and be present for my business because I've already been present for you. I gave you time first. Now it's time for me to get some work done. So they can respect that because they appreciate when you do it for them. Number two, here's the thing that I'm going to share with my mommy CEOs because we have a hard time with this, ladies, and I'm going to tell you, you have to get over it. But the point number two, outside of being present, which was number one, two, get help. Get some help. We try to wear all the hats and do all the things and be present and there and cooking all the dinners and doing. Girl, get some help. It does not make you less than. It does not take your entire superhero mommy cape away, but you can't do everything. I am trying to run a business. I have 3 kids. My oldest is about to graduate college. I have my husband. We've been married for 14 years. You have to invest in your marriage, okay? Do not neglect your spouse because that will cause problems. And I know a lot of you listening to me are thinking, you just don't understand. Like, I can't afford to do this and I can't afford to do that, or nobody else does it right, so I have to do it, or where am I supposed to get this help? What I want you to do is think of some simple things that you can get help for so that you are free enough and have the capacity to do the things that you can't currently get help for. I recently took my daughter to get her hair braided. Prior to me paying somebody to get her hair braided, and that sounds super simple, but y'all don't understand. This child, when she was really little, we were in a predominantly white area, And she already felt some kind of way about the fact that her classmates could wear their hair out. They could wear their hair any way they wanted to, but she couldn't. She was in braids, she was in ponytails. I always had to control her hair, right? And so I did her hair. I tried taking her to the hairdresser, her and her sister. Her sister's hair is just a whole different thing. People couldn't handle it in that area. I didn't have options. So I, mommy, spent all this time, like, for my daughter's life doing hair. And it just became something that I knew I was responsible to do. I did have my mom who could do cornrows and other styles, so she would help me out from time to time and do their hair. But for the most part, this was like my mommy responsibility. So me deciding, like, wait a minute, this child is 14. I spend like a whole weekend. And when I say a whole weekend, I mean like you got to take out the last style, detangle hair, condition, like it's a thing. And then you have to redo it. And to save time, I feel like putting in like box braids or other things is a great idea, because then I don't do the hair as often. But it takes a whole weekend. So at this point of my business journey, and just even just for my sanity, I can't spend an entire weekend on one activity when I can pay somebody, what did she charge me, like $130? I bought back my whole weekend for $100. So I want you guys to start thinking like that. And maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to still do the hair because I'm still in that area where I don't have anybody. Then pass off some meals, right? Do some meal prep programs, um, something. We have to figure out ways that we are getting help. We are buying the tools that are necessary to help us get these things done. So many women that I coach in business, they literally are like running around at the beginning like a chicken with their head cut off because they're trying to do everything. And when I, as a business coach, like, oh, well, could somebody else braid your daughter's hair? Or could you do like one of those Blue Apron type programs where you get some of the meals delivered and maybe your husband can prep some? You know, are there some other options here? And most often, she would have never considered, what can I pass off? She would have never considered, what can I pay for? She would have never considered, like, what is using a lot of my time that I can now pay somebody else to do. Tabby is agreeing with me. She's like, right, yes. That is, it's so true, and it's so basic, but we just totally neglect that part. In business, we neglect it because it's our baby. We love our business. We started it for a reason. Most of us, most of my clients, they come to me, they are passionate, they are purposed for that business. And so even the idea of passing that on, even the idea of having somebody else do parts of their business is just like, they're not going to do it right. Or what do I need to do? And this is so hard. I was in a coaching session yesterday. So I, as a business coach, also belong to coaching programs because I need people to be able to look at me and say these very things that I'm saying to you because they're not always so obvious, right? And so this coach said, if you could snap your fingers and have something in your business just completely done for you, what would it be? And he said, don't overthink it. This is a group session, right? Don't overthink it. Just what is that thing? So we were all writing stuff, and then everybody was done really quick. One person hysterically says, can I just ask for more wishes? Like the little genie in a bottle or something. But what it came down to was he told us that almost anything that we shared in that section, like that you just want to snap your fingers and have it done for you, you should just pay somebody else to do it. You should outsource that thing because it's bringing you frustration. It's at the top of your mind that you want to have it done, but you don't know how to do it possibly, which is why you want to snap your fingers and get it done. or maybe it's really, really complicated. The point is, get the help that you need. For me, it was all about my group coaching and like marketing and all that. There's so many options around that. And I was just like, which one should I choose? And they simply said, who's done this before you? Don't you know people? I'm like, yeah. They're like, ask them. If they offer a course, pay for it. Because you're going to spend and think and overthink and stress yourself out where you could have just spent a little bit of money and been moving. And that's the thing that we don't realize. When we give all of our energy to these things that frustrate us, when we don't get help, we're doing more damage to ourselves, to the progress of our business, and our ability to be totally present when it's necessary, because we spend so much time being frustrated and overwhelmed in our business. So, ladies, I'm challenging us to just do these two things, right? We can be awesome moms. We can like totally nail it at this motherhood thing, and and we can be awesome CEOs. We can run our businesses. We can do the thing that we know we're purposed to do. We can follow our passions. It can bring awesome income to our homes. It can bring the personal wins that we're looking for in our life. And it doesn't have to come at the sacrifice of all things that are us and our self-care. So what I'm going to advise you are just the two things, which is be present. So whether you're at home or at work, whatever you're doing, just totally show up and dedicate yourself to doing that thing for that particular time. And then two, get help, especially if you can answer that question like my coach told me. What would you snap your fingers and have done for you? Think about that in your house with your kids. And if you can quickly answer it, which I'm sure you can, get help to do it. You're just spending a lot of unnecessary time being frustrated, and just pulling time from other things that you could be doing effectively, that you could show up strong and do. And in these cases, let somebody else do it. Train someone else. In my bakery, we have had staff of over 100 people. And that's because I literally could not do that work myself. We had mall locations, so every mall had its own manager and a team of people who worked there. The malls weren't necessarily close enough to share teams, although they did sometimes share managers. And then in my kitchen, I had bakers, I had decorators, and then we also had the drivers who would come in to do the deliveries. And then outside of that, you had the executive team. So running that bakery, I absolutely could have just been a home baker. I could have just baked some goods at home, sold my cakes like a lot of these other ladies you see. It's like $30 a cake, yay, and they feel really good. But I really wanted to grow up my company, standardize on some things, and to dominate, right? We were the largest gift delivery company in Washington, D.C. And I can say that with assurance because I knew who my competition was and I knew what I had to offer that they could not, right? So you can't do that by yourself. You can't do that without getting help, and you have to do it in baby steps, right? So I'm not at all asking you guys to go from like where you are today to managing 100 people. That's just not even practical. However, I am asking you to make the first steps of getting help and really showing up strong with whatever you are doing. So I am excited for you guys. Drop in the comments if that was helpful to you, if you learned anything, if you are going to commit to being present. That's one. I'm going to commit to being present at home when I'm home, at work when I'm at work. If you are going to commit to getting help, even if you know the area that you want to snap your fingers and have finished, and you're like, you know what? I was able to answer that question so quickly. I should just get some help. drop that in the comments. I'm committing to getting help. So I want to see what you guys are committing to, whether you're watching this live or as a replay. I would love to hear what you guys are up to. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Win the Day. I am here Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. I'd love to see you back with me on Tuesday. You guys have a great day. Bye.